followed by our roll call.
Let's bow our heads. Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for the great city of Cocoa. We thank you for all of the staff. We thank you for our city councilman. And we thank you for our mayor. God, we pray that you would continue to protect Cocoa, guide them, and lead them as they lead our great city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Williams.
Oh, yeah. I'm present.
Deputy Mayor Warner. Here. Councilmember Bovair. Here. Councilmember Goins.
Here.
Councilmember Koss.
Here.
City Attorney Garganese. Here. City Manager Tukanich. Here. And Assistant City Manager Fuhr.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We're going to move on to approval agenda and minutes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
A couple of additions to the agenda, please.
Is the mic on?
Yeah, my mic is on. Under multi-year contracts, I'd like to add item 8,
Okay.
8A, whatever it's going to be. And then also, at the last council meeting, we had a code enforcement lien forgiveness that was supposed to come back to this agenda, according to the motion that was made at the meeting, and it's not on the agenda, so I would like to add that, which was the approval of the reduction of the current code enforcement lien for the property at 1050 Grove Avenue. And the clerk has copies, if anybody would like a copy, but it was on our last agenda. It just didn't get.
Yeah, but we don't have anything with reference to that. I mean, I know that.
I think we have the code enforcement office has been out there, and I'm sure that the chief can give us an update or can get Dennis in here, because the code enforcement has been out there and agreed that the property is up to code and all the
And this is what you're proposing for item number 8 under?
No, that was just add item 8 under multi-year contracts. That came from the city clerk.
Okay. What is this?
You're right. The zoo.
Oh, here, this is.
Oh, okay, yeah, because she just put that in there, but it's not on here.
That's in your binder.
This is
I got it.
That's in the binder.
Oh, this.
No, what I'm proposing to add is the agenda item that we
She just.
asked to be brought back to this meeting, which is not on the agenda.
Passed down.
Yeah, but I don't think we're prepared for that.
That's it right there.
Is that it?
Yep.
Chief, is there an update on that address?
You gotta make.
I know we went back out. I don't believe everything has been done to be back in compliance.
According
The last-
to your code enforcement supervisor, as of this morning, it's in compliance.
That's from Dennis?
Yes.
But do we have anything to
I don't have.
actually prove that and verify that? I want the opportunity to go out and take a look at it.
Well, under
First-
our rules of this being a quasi-judicial ruling, are we allowed to do that, Mr. City Attorney?
I'm going to tell you my opinion. If I'm going to make a decision
care what your opinion
with
is,
something that
I'm
has to
just
do
what
with the
the law
city,
is.
then I'm going to go out and look at it.
Is there a motion on the table right now?
I mean, a lien reduction is not really a QJ matter, quasi-judicial matter, but, you know, the item was tabled. I mean, whether or not you can add it to the.
It was tabled to be brought back to this meeting.
Okay.
Well,
But it wasn't.
it wasn't added to the agenda for whatever reason, so I don't know why it wasn't. The council's prepared to address it. They certainly can put it right back on the agenda for
So there's
discussion.
no reason why we can't go out and view these things that are on our agenda? The code board's not allowed to do it. The Board of Adjustment's
yeah, but-
not allowed to do it, but we are.
This is a lien reduction request, so it's not technically a quasi-judicial matter. The underlying code enforcement action relative to, you know, whether or not there's a violation, I mean, you're correct on a QJ matter. involving code enforcement. The code board members should not be going out.
So
reviewing.
when they have a lien reduction on their agenda, it's okay for them to go out and view it?
If it's solely a matter of whether or not the lien can be reduced, and there's no outstanding code enforcement, violations, then the case is technically closed. And all that's left is the financial obligation that's owed under the lien, which is really more of a legislative type, executive type decision that has to be made on whether or not the lien should be reduced and satisfied. So I hope I'm not trying to like split hairs, but there are distinctions between an active code enforcement case where there's a case pending prosecution and compliance versus the financial obligation that comes after the fact when the lien is filed against the property, in my opinion.
Well, it's just my opinion, when you tell somebody that you're going to bring it back to the next agenda, and you tell the gentleman who's waiting on the reduction that it'll be on the next agenda, and it isn't, if nothing else, we owe the man an apology.
But we are the final decision, and the thing about it is to say that we shouldn't go out and take a look. It's ridiculous, because, we work for the taxpayers and the
Well,
residents.
so does the Code Board, and
You
so
know.
does the Board of Adjustment, and you've served on those, so
Their
no.
recommendation board, we are the final decision. That's the difference.
And that's why we have staff to give us recommendations.
But anyway, can I get a motion? We got a motion right now for the add the item number 8 as well as this lien reduction.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation for the add-on the D8 and the code enforcement item to the agenda.
We got a motion by Deputy Mayor Warner, a second by Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Only reason I'm saying no is because I don't have information from the code enforcement officer. That's my only problem I have right now is that.
What was your,
And I say no because I'm a little bit confused about what's going on here, and I don't have anything in front of me.
this was, there was 2 items that were being added on. It was item number 8.
Yeah, and 8
It was
is
brought in.
fine, we
And
knew
then
about that.
Then there was brought up about the lien reduction from the gentleman that was here at the last council meeting, in which there were some additional issues with the property.
Okay. And
And
so we know that those have been taken care of?
no, we don't know that they've
Okay,
been
well,
taken
then
care of.
Mayor.
I would say no.
Mayor and Council, I just
Yes,
talked to our code manager, Dennis Bunt. He said as of yesterday morning, they went out and did an inspection, and as of yesterday morning, it was in compliance. Problem is, he just didn't have time, we didn't have time to complete an agenda item to get it on the agenda, to get it done. So with the time frame, he's saying everything is good, but he just didn't have time to start the agenda item and get an agenda item on because we were already way past our deadline.
Okay.
With that being said, we had, it fell 3-2, so if someone wants to make another motion, we can go ahead and make a motion with reference to the agenda.
Well, 3-2 it passed, right?
No, it fell.
It failed.
Oh,
So we need a motion for the agenda with the,
okay, well, I'll make a motion to include both number 8 and the lien reduction issues to our agenda.
Second.
we got a motion by Councilwoman Kosh, a second by Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So we got, 4-1, 4?
Yeah, 4-1.
4-1, okay. Okay, and then we'll move on to our minutes from our regular meeting of February 13, 2019, and Mayor's Town Hall meeting of February 19, 2019. What are the wishes of the council?
The minutes is read.
We got a motion by Councilman Bover, second by Councilman Goin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna move on to awards and presentation. We have none. We're gonna go to delegations. Mr. Victor Watson Esquire, could you please come up and state your name and address and all that good information?
Okay, my name is Victor Watson. My address is 3490 North US 1, Cocoa, Florida. I'm here tonight representing Gladys Thomas, and who is being assisted by her son Joe Thomas. I had appeared before you several times at the end of last year. Gladys Thomas had several properties that had code violations against them. All of them had been abated, and then we requested lien reductions, which we got. Thank you very much. We appreciated that. We were working very hard to bring the properties into compliance and do everything that needed to be done. It was urgent because Ms. Thomas had a property that was being sold in Rockledge, and a closing had fallen through because of these liens and so forth. The problem is that we entered the code lien satisfaction agreement, and it's got the requirements basically that the properties have to stay in compliance until the lien is paid. We had 60 days to pay the agreed amount. My client didn't have the money. They were still trying to sell the Rockledge property. That closing had not come up again. It's now coming up, I think, February 27th. And Mr. Thomas thought, well, there's a tax deed sale apparently pending on one of the 4 properties that had a lien violation. Said that's a great way to raise funds, get this money so I can pay this off within 60 days. He let the tax deed sale go through, told me about it later because the clerk of court was holding the funds. There was $22,000 extra. So we talked to the city attorney, and we said, hey, can we use this money if we'll try to get it out quickly, get it to the city to pay off the $17,500 that was owed. And then Mr. Garganese then explained that in this code lien satisfaction agreement, there was a paragraph talking about tax deed sales and that the city could claim the overage of tax deed sales. And at that point, my client dug up the $17,500, paid it outside these other funds, and we have requested, we've put in a claim as the the clerk of court requests. Anyone who's got a claim to those overages, we put the claim in, and I've been talking to Mr. Garganese about what can we do here, and what I'm doing at this point is asking the city council to waive its claim to that overage. My client has done everything that needed to be done with regard to these properties. They're in compliance. He paid the lien. If he had paid it just a little bit earlier and then the tax deed sale had happened, there would certainly be no claim whatsoever. But as it stands, the city is claiming kind of a $22,000, in addition to the $17,500 that my client has paid. So I don't know if it's something that the city can act on right now, but if not, I would certainly ask that it be put on the next agenda and request that it waive its claim to this $22,000 overage on the tax deed sale.
Thank you, sir.
Could I ask, is there a way to put it on the agenda for the next meeting?
Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Garganese,
Or Mr. Garganese, either one of you guys.
you have an opinion on this matter? I know I put you on the spot.
Actually, as you know, the city council entered into a code enforcement lien reduction agreement with Gladys Thomas, who's being represented by her son. And pursuant to the contract, in my opinion, the city is not only entitled to the $17,000 change that has been paid, but pursuant to paragraph 11 of that code enforcement satisfaction agreement, the city is entitled to any surplus funds for any tax deed sales regarding the affected properties, which there were several of them that came before the council for consideration. So, right now, my opinion is the city has a contractual right to the $22,000 that's currently being held by the clerk of the court. And as the city normally does in these situations, is the city filed its claim for the surplus funds, and apparently there's now a competing claim that's been filed by Gladys Thomas's son, which is now, affected the city's ability to get the surplus funds, which I believe the city has a contractual right to receive.
But the city could waive that. Is that correct, Anthony?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
if my recollection was, that was a partial lien reduction because there was like close to $600,000 owed, and the purpose was for the sale of the one property, and the property that were in tax was subject to the tax deed sale was the one that the community was most outraged about. I think it was the one on the corner of Azalea and Fisk.
And Fitz, yes.
It's on Audubon.
Audubon.
Azalea, there had been an earlier tax deed sale, and that was the subject of discussion and a whole page in this agreement. My client didn't understand that this paragraph 11 applied to other properties. Maybe he should have, but he did not. And it does not, in doing what the city is doing to claim this overage, it doesn't help in any way in abating these kinds of problems at all. And there was extra money paid for the other one that had already gone to the tax deed sale. And this one, it's just, it's a windfall. I have to say, my client and I, we appreciate what the city did in reducing the liens in the first place.
Which were quite a bit.
It was quite a bit, and it was paid in full, and the liens have not been satisfied yet. And my client's done everything that's required, and the liens are not satisfied. I need to get that done before this closing.
It's my recollection it was a partial lien release. Is that not correct?
Yes.
No, it was a full lien release.
I was understanding it was a partial.
Listen, there were so many liens
Yeah.
on all of these properties. The issue is a contractual issue. In fairness to Mr. Watson, I'll answer your question. There is a contractual right now that, in my opinion, the city has to the $22,000 that's currently being held by the clerk of the court. What Mr. Watson is asking the council to do is to waive that contractual right to the $22,000. Can the city waive or amend the contract to waive its rights to the $22,000? Theoretically, yes, the council could. But in my opinion, you have the contractual right to the $22,000. Whether the council wants to waive that right is a council decision. That's what he's requesting that you do. If you do not waive, we now have competing claims in front of the clerk of the court. Likely, the clerk of the court, unless they withdraw their claim, which I believe is in conflict with the contract that was executed, the clerk of the court is likely going to interplead the $22,000 in the court. And then we're going to be attempting to enforce the city's contracts rights to the $22,000. That's how it would probably play out. Whether or not they contest the city's rights under the contract, I'll leave that to Mr. Watson to explain, but this is where you find yourself. He's requesting that you waive a contract right to $22,000.
Yeah, and we'll just take a consensus here. I said nay. I said no.
And that's for bringing it back on the agenda
Yeah,
for the
bring it
next
back.
meeting.
I said no. We've given up enough so far, and I just think that we did a great deed, and I say no.
I agree.
Councilwoman Kosh?
Is there any compromise position in this?
Nope.
And I'll
Well, there
say
could
nay
be.
as well.
Split it down the middle. It's a compromise.
City attorney and city manager discuss it and see if we can bring it back up on the agenda.
Councilman Bover, is yea or nay?
Huh?
Yea or nay? Are you
To
bring it back, or the?
You want to bring it back or not, Don?
Yeah, we'll bring it back after the city attorney and the city manager
Okay.
discuss it and
we
see
got-
if it's
For
viable.
We got three again.
councils, city manager and city attorney's office have been in consultation, and we would be advising that you don't release that contractual right.
Not to bring it back? Okay.
Um,
I'll retract my motion not to bring it back.
Deputy Mayor Warner?
Nope, I was involved in this in the first go-round, and I thought we were more than fair.
Okay. You have it, sir?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Okay. Okay, we got Mr. Alex Greenwood.
Alex Green with 640 Brevard Avenue, Cocoa, Florida. Very quickly, there's 3 subjects. One that I've been trying to get attention on for 5 years, and this is in the consent decree area. I have what was provided to the renovation of that area, the location of oak trees in addition to sidewalk upgrades, things like that. Beautiful job done. A lot of people didn't believe it was actually going to take place. People had to be convinced. I went to all the meetings concerning this. Right now, because there's no budget set to upkeep what was renovated, it's going the other way now. It's turning into blighted. There is a street lamp that has not been replaced, 2 of them. I know they're very expensive, $3,500 each, but that's one example. And there are 40 oak trees that were planted and not watered properly that have been removed. And I've got the drawings here, and I can show exactly where the locations were from what was provided at one of those meetings. We're talking about anywhere from $150, $200 per oak tree. We're talking about $8 grand just to replace the oak trees, about $3,000 for one of the lamps, 2, another 6. We're talking about maybe $14,000. That's a lot less than the money that would take to bring it back to where it should be, of what we promised to the residents there. And I know that that's probably a lot less money than we're spending now for removing the crosswalks. The other thing, and the last thing, is the security. I'm still in support of that. I read in the newspaper yesterday where a young lady killed her daughter in her car with a knife. There are crazy things happening. This is not the norm. I really feel that we need security for access to this building. I really am strong on that. I was just hoping if I could get a consensus in reference to the items of the consent decree area that there's no budget for. I'd like to see if there's something that we can either bring it on an agenda to discuss and look into it. I'll be more than happy to bring information. That's it.
I would like to copy that plan, too.
Yes, sir. I'll provide that.
Yes, sir.
Can I just
City
add that
Manager.
that was a COCO CRA project, and that's probably the agency that should be taking that matter up before. They were the ones that did the streetscape project. As much as the state doesn't want the city or the CRA taking on responsibilities for city,
Well, I can bring it next month.
so it would be the CRA.
Next month's meeting, I'll have all the material available for everyone. If that's a consensus. All right, good. I will do that. Thank you. And again, the security, please, that's something very important.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for defending the trees.
Okay, next we have Mr. Robert Smolik. You can, state your name and address and. Main Branch Road.
My name's Robert Smolik. My address and all personal identifiers are confidential, covered under 119.071 under the Florida statutes. I'm a retired out of first responder and disabled, but I also run an NGO, a licensed company. We do, it's called Global Eye. We do government. We're a government watchdog group that does oversight on waste, fraud, and corruption in government. Unfortunately, I'm my own client today bringing this problem. You were all given a letter, 5 of you, I believe, I gave to the lady. Normally, I wouldn't come to a meeting like this, but way back in towards the end of, sometime in 2017, there was, DOT paved all the beach end streets, the skirts they call them is what I was told, in Cocoa Beach. Where one was paved, there was a water leak popped up. I know because I called it into the city of Cocoa. They came out, fixed it, damaged some property. They had to repair that. I called about that, and then a waste management truck drove through. They didn't mark off the area that was damaged. and destroyed the temporary patch. They had to come back out. We were out there for hours on this. The city of Cocoa knows all about this. Nothing was ever done, was never fixed to DOT standards. The DBI Services runs a contract, does maintenance along A1A there, but the water lines and all that under the purview of the city of Cocoa. I got with them, with Florida DOT, numerous emails, calls, and it's kind of a blame game going back and forth. The reason I'm here, because I wrote a letter the other day, a copy which you have, when I am contacted by a city official and given purposely incorrect information and diplomatically lied to, that's why I'm here. I think DBI Services and FDOT, I talked to Ms. Wheeler today at FDOT, and Mr. Thomas, he's a supervisor. I believe he said he got a hold of Utilities Director the other day. It's going back and forth. Who's blamed? The city of Cocoa has denied responsibility. DBI has denied responsibility on this. And the consensus is the city of Cocoa dug this hole, didn't fix it properly to code, and left it that way. They're responsible. It resulted in an accident. Unfortunately, it was my accident. It damaged a custom Harley-Davidson motorcycle of mine. And we're getting all kind of, like I said, the blame game. We need to get this matter settled. I'm done with this after a year and a half. It shouldn't have to go on like this. Now, I filed a formal claim today. I wrote a claim letter to your risk management. So we'll go from there, but I would like to have this matter settled once and for all. I was informed that this hole will be fixed pretty soon here, coming up by unspecified by who's going to fix it, but I believe the city of Cocoa is going to end up getting a bill for it too. This shouldn't have been going on for this long.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this.
The reason you were given the letters, because I don't think anybody was familiar. Apparently a lot of this stuff gets kept upstairs and doesn't get accounted. You guys are accountable to the public.
Well, we're just three of us are doing the council. So.
If you see the date of the letter, the 11th, received it yesterday. First I was made aware of it. In the letter, there's a number of items related to public records requests.
Yeah.
Immediately forwarded that letter to the clerk's office. They compiled the information to comply with the public records request. And I also requested all the involved departments to provide me their information so I can review it before responding. But again, we got the letter yesterday. Get the emails where we sent it out immediately, and then asked everybody to provide me their information.
Okay.
Mr. Smollett doesn't give me a chance to.
Okay.
I mean, I got it yesterday.
Okay. We'll be getting back with you,
Well,
sir.
that was going to be my next comment. I did bring, I mailed it. You should be getting a certified copy of it.
Yeah.
And I also gave it to Mr. Connick's secretary yesterday. I tried to meet with him.
Okay.
And she went upstairs, come back down right away because I wanted some other information. Said, well, he read it, he'll respond today. That was yesterday. Didn't hear nothing today or yesterday. So I just want to make sure that we're aware of this. I'd like to get this hole patched up and this matter taken care of. I don't want to have to go arguing anymore on this.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir. We just got to do our due diligence, and then we'll get back with you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
And I'll copy counsel on the response letter to Mr. Smollett.
Thank you, sir. This item right here with reference to the code enforcement lien, what item was that?
8.
What was that going under?
8.
No, that was the.
No, that was,
Extra add-on. There was no number for it.
Was that going under?
Should be 7-3.
It's under council
Yeah, I
business.
put it under council business.
Under council business.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Council business.
Yeah, I never did hear that, so.
3.
Okay, that was the last of our delegations. We're gonna move on to consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We got a motion by Councilman Bovair.
Second.
We got a second by Councilwoman Kosh. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We're going to move on to public hearings. Conduct a public hearing to amend the FY 2018 2019 CBDG action plan to reallocate funds and add 2 new activities in accordance with the city CDBG citizens participation plan, and also approve resolution amending the FY 2019 budget, transferring revenues to the appropriate account line. Community Service Director.
Thank you, Mayor. The staff is requesting that we add 2 new activities to our 2018-2019 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. The new activities would be a neighborhood signage improvements for $5,000. The city acquired what's now called the Blake subdivision, which is a 22-lot subdivision, and we wanted to put some signage out there, potentially the project for Habitat for Humanity on Whaley Street and any other neighborhoods that may need signage in the low-income target areas. Additionally, we're looking at reallocating $190,000 for park improvements, and that would be for our new Jolie Smith Center or Provost Park.
Okay.
So we'll be reallocating the funds from our current housing rehab program in demolition, but it still leaves an existing balance within that. So staff is asking that we conduct a public hearing, and then we'll submit to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for our amendment.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'm going to close it to the council and open it to the public. For any public comments, anyone would like to talk on this item or speak on this item? Seeing none, we're going to close it to the public, bring it back to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Does that, is there a list of location where those signs are going to be?
No, we're looking at the Blake subdivision, potentially the Whaley project, and then any other neighborhood sign needed in a low-income area. Is there a location you were looking at?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
The corner of Fisk and Rosa Jones is kind of something I always wanted to have a sign there coming in from Rockledge to Cocoa. Because that corner is like, right now you have 3 businesses that you have a vacant lot, then you have a closed cleaners, and then you have another closed. So we want to make sure that that area is the signage looks similar to US 1. Just when you coming from Rockledge to Cocoa, it shouldn't look that bad when you get into Cocoa.
Because we have, nice signage on US 1.
That's
and
right.
It'd be nice to have all our gateways coming to our city should be identified something really nice. So
I would really like that.
Okay, we'll look at that, and also possibly the city could assist, because that's a gateway entry feature that you're looking for, not a neighborhood sign.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion by Councilman Goins, a second by Councilman Bovair. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Our next item on the public hearing is pass the first reading of ordinance number 01-2019, a zoning map amendment to the parcel of land approximately 3.23 acres from CW, which is wholesale commercial, and RU 1-7, single-family residential. Ms. Bond.
Yeah, let me read the ordinance in by title only first. Ordinance number 01-2019, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, changing the zoning map designation of 2 parcels of real property on which the current Dr. Jolie Smith Community Center is located, totaling 3.23 acres, more or less, and generally located on the south side of Stone Street and west of Washington Street, approximately 0.10 miles west of US 1 in Cocoa, Florida, more particularly depicted and legally described on Exhibit A, attached here too, from CW Wholesale Commercial and RU 17 Single Family Residential to INST Institutional, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, severability, and an effective date. This is first reading of this rezoning ordinance.
And I'm having my usual wonderful time, there we go, with technology. There we go. All right, so the future land use on the property is recreation and open space. It has the 2 zonings currently on the 2 parcels, CW, which is commercial wholesale, and RU17 single family. We're proposing institutional zoning for both of these parcels. They represent, as you said, the Dr. Jolie Smith Community Center, the southwest corner of Stone and Washington. And just for reference, the CW zoning district is a line, it's probably the northern fifth, roughly, of that first parcel. The remainder of it, and then the second parcel are all the residentially zoned properties. As you know, we're intending to build a new community center on the northern parcel where the current baseball field and playground are located. There's an existing pool and basketball court to the south, and then the existing community center on the other parcel. Neither of the present zoning districts for these two parcels permits a community center use. And therefore, to support this planned development, we need to rezone the parcels. The institutional was selected as the most appropriate choice. It provides the closest fit to the present uses, as well as offering compatible future uses for future development, including the community center and the public park and playground uses. In addressing any rezoning, we look at 16 criteria for an application. They cover things like land use pattern, comprehensive plan, condition of the adjoining neighborhoods, traffic, public safety, things like that. I won't go through all 16. I'll just mention the first one, that A, which is the proposed change is contrary to the established land use pattern. And staff's finding the proposed rezoning would bring these parcels, the uses into compliance with the proposed zoning, and the proposed zoning into compliance with the future land use designations. And the designations are consistent, well, obviously, with the recreation and open space. In the comprehensive plan, no concurrency application would be needed. We're not adding new facilities. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval at its meeting of March 6th of 2019, and you have the recommended motion.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
At this time, I'm going to go ahead and close it to the council, open it to the public for any public comments, if you have any. Seeing none, I'm going to close it to the public, reopen it to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion by Councilwoman Koss,
Second.
second by Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to council business. Thank you, ma'am. Consider the appointment of the following applicants as nominated by city council members as members of the Police Community Relations Advisory Committee: Alden Bookhart, Marcia Dowell, Alton Edmond, Kevin McCann, and Alfred Butcher.
Betcher.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion by Councilman Bover. Yes, sir. Hold on one second. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
We got a motion by Councilman Bover. We got a second by.
Second, open
by
to
Councilman
I was just,
Koss.
in the body of the agenda item is Michael Klug, but yet on the agenda title, it doesn't include his name. Just want to make
Okay.
that clear.
Yeah. Okay.
Apologize for that.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously.
I have one question
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
that I didn't get an answer to last time. This is called a committee. Why is it called a committee versus a board? Because when we did the Sustainability Advisory Committee, I was told because it has a specific plan and it may be dissolved at some point. So this is, what's the difference?
Sounds like a question for the attorney.
Well, I mean, in this case, it's really kind of form over substance. I mean, this is going to be a committee of continuing existence. The nomenclature is, I think, John, if you recall, there was a discussion as to what this should be named, and I think there was a preference that it would be called a committee, and I think that's just more of style rather than form.
Okay. I have one other question. Because I did speak with Melbourne Councilwoman Yvette Minas, and I know, was our resolution, and I wasn't here, of course, when this resolution was formed, but was ours based on their model?
Well, in part to incorporate the community feedback, engagement, and then also there's essentially, if I recall correctly, going back to it, there's like essentially 4 models out there and related to how to handle, police relations advisory boards or committees, 2 which don't apply because it consists of the law. So rather one just as being informal, this was in the CPSM study, there was a recommendation for an informal group or committee, or there could be a more formal one. And by the one thing that this committee does that the Melbourne doesn't is they will, in any instance of an IA where there's involved officer misconduct in terms of, with regard to the public, that will be presented before the committee. So after the IA is complete and there's no outstanding legal issues.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of difference. That's more of just a forum, so we've incorporated a little bit, because one of the things that, it's been our experience based on some public comments from the delegations is for lack of being aware of what happened to an officer or the investigation. It's some will just believe like, well, the city didn't do anything. So this provides an ability for the commander over internal investigations to present those reports. So this way the public's aware of those instances where there's, alleged misconduct related to in dealing with a member of the public.
Okay, so
it was more of a hybrid.
Yeah, I just understood from hers that theirs is actually a separate organization, whereas what we're doing will be more staff-driven.
Well, it's a committee. It's just, the committee has, the police chief can obviously present strategies, programs. I think we're hopeful that the committee will get involved in the strategic planning initiative. But the committee can provide feedback to the chief on certain issues that they've become aware of in terms of, as it relates to maybe policing or law enforcement strategies or items to look at. Residents can come in and speak, but then there's also the component where there is a review of those internal affairs investigations and investigations under certain circumstances, involving certain circumstances.
Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, our next item is no, we did already.
You voted.
Yeah. To consider the donation of application for Cocoa Youth Athletes. And I think we have, about $750 each in our account, I guess? Was it about $750?
That's correct, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor.
okay. And we can give up to $1,000 is my understanding, so.
Right.
I'm going to say a couple of things here, and I think this is a great deal with these kids. I was the president of Rockledge Youth Football League for a number of years, and I know what it costs for the uniforms for these kids. When you're talking shoulder pads, knee pads, hip pads, butt pads, and it just goes on, and the helmets, it's quite a bit. And I know when I was the president, the league's president, it was we were spending probably roughly around $900 a kid per child, and we had over 400 kids at the time, and that was just football players, not even including the cheerleaders. I'm so happy. I was out at the practice yesterday watching some of the kids perform yesterday. So this is good for our community. I'm glad that we have our youth football back in Cocoa, in the city of Cocoa, that's joining the Brevard County Football League. So with that being said, I guess each council member can determine how much they want to donate each.
It would be $200 from each member's allotted budget.
Yes. Okay. So we have some of the coaches and parents here, some of the kids here. I was hoping to get them out of here earlier, but we're still kind of early. So, Councilwoman Kosh.
Okay, I'll make my remarks brief. My sons both played football, so I'm very supportive, and I will vote in support. But I just wanted to say that I also intend to find some nonprofit that will help me get our native sons and daughters from Cocoa High School have been invited to perform at Carnegie Hall next October, and we've got to raise some money. So I hope that, we can support and promote multi-talented Cocoa citizens in our youth.
They need to come in, fill an application.
Yeah, for real.
Exactly.
Well, that will only, even if we all donated, that would only be the seed money. We have to do,
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on
Yeah,
that.
so. But anyway, I started off, I'd say 200 from my account.
Motion to approve what's in the agenda, which is 200 from each council
I
person.
just wanted to make sure that everybody wants to do 200, because they might not want to do 200, so
Yeah,
we have that option.
I wanted to see if, I know the president is in the audience now. Do you want to say anything as well?
But are you two in favor of 200 out of your
Yes.
account? Okay,
Yeah.
because you don't have to do 200, but.
But they're asking for
Yeah.
1,000, right?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
approving.
that's a max that you can give them, but, yeah,
Right.
but it's, yeah.
Yeah, I'm improving, for sure.
Okay. Would anyone like to come up and say something, one of the coaches, or?
Do the motion first.
Well, we'll go ahead and make a motion, but we still want to hear from you, if you don't mind. We got a motion,
Yep. Second.
We did, she made the motion.
we got a motion by
we
Deputy
good.
Mayor Warner, a second by Councilman Goin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, it passes unanimously, but, yes, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you all.
Just pull it up so you don't have to bend down.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Williams and city councilmen, city councilwomen. My name is Samuel Claiborne. I'm a part of a team of leaders that represents Cocoa Youth Athletics Corporation. We are a youth football and cheer organization. That is our first goal, is to start up the athletic side of it. We have now partnered with Each One Teach One youth track and field as well. We are also looking to mentor kids, teach them life skills and stuff of that nature. Also, we have a tutoring program that we're implementing as well to make sure our kids are lining up with the high school rules to keep a 2.5 GPA, because we want to let our parents and our youth know from the start that you have to maintain a certain GPA to actually play sports in high school.
Yes.
One of our main visions and our mission is to impact our community at large. We want to bridge the gap between the Cocoa PD and the community. We at SEAC know that by being a bridge, you're going to get walked on, and you're going to get talked about. So we don't care about the complaints and the talking about, but we want to partner up with Cocoa PD PAL organization as well, so we can make a stronger impact in our community. Right now, we have about 70% kids that have already signed up. And we want to thank you very much for your donation. Another one of our biggest visions is that as we continue to move forward, we will venture off into mentoring our kids and our young adults. Because we had an incident on social media with one of our young adults to where they were going back and forth. And myself and another leader that's a part of this organization pulled this young man aside and talked to him. And just lifted him up and gave him understanding of not being involved in those heated conversations on social media. Then a second incident happened where this young man posted something else, and instead of him reacting, he took a step back, observed the thing, and then took a different approach. So our goal and our vision is to definitely impact our community, our youth and our young adults, make them aware of information, make them aware of things that they can take advantage of. This is just a part of something that we're passionate about, and we're concerned about our community. We want to partner up with you guys with whatever you have going on. We got people that are willing to donate their time. We don't get paid. We are a volunteer organization. Any money that is donated to us is immediately given to the kids to make sure they have the proper equipment, a safe environment, to learn the proper techniques to play football, learn the proper techniques to be a cheerleader, and as far as education. We've partnered up with the Cocoa High School. They're Bright Future Kids. We're going to get a list of their Bright Future Kids, and they'll be able to come volunteer at our organization, and we'll be able to write them off. for some of their hours, so they can be in the process of getting those hours allocated to whatever level that they're going into in the Bright Futures education.
But anyway, we want to thank you and all the coaches and all the parents and all the volunteers and all the cheerleading coaches for all that you do and making a difference in our community. And I talked to one of the young ladies there yesterday. I know there's a need for new scoreboards, and not only there, but also at the Provost West. And so I'm working with someone now. We're trying to figure out how to get those donated and get those replaced, because they're both in disarray, and I don't think they're functional. So just let you know that we see what you're doing, and we appreciate it. And if anybody else want to chime in, Councilman Goins?
No, I mean, I think, I wouldn't hesitate at all to donate this money, because I know, number one, they have a good organization, got good people inside the front office, so I know it's going to be well received. I know all the kids going to, we're going to battle it out on the field,
Yes, sir.
so I'm all in for it. I think, I think it's a good thing. So I appreciate you and all what you do.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Thanks for your time
thank
for
you
our
again.
kids. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you again.
Is that part of the Pop Warner program?
No,
This is a county league.
Yeah, the county league.
Basically
They're
the
local.
same thing, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pop Warner travels. They stay local.
I
So
don't mind up
yeah.
north. My son played 5 years in Pop Warner. It's
Yeah.
the same thing that we guys.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your help. and-
Thank you all for coming out.
I appreciate you.
very much.
Okay.
Would I see
Okay.
some shirts that say Tiger Pride back there? Tiger Pride.
This next item is an item that was brought back from our last council meeting, and I just hope next time when something like this come forward, I get a heads up on it, because I don't like getting it right here in the council meeting like this, because this took some time to type up, so this was thought about, and I
This
don't
is-
like being surprised like that.
Well,
That's
actually,
just-
I brought this up because I
So-
got a call from Mr. Barber this afternoon asking why
No,
he wasn't on the agenda.
No, I understand. I mean, I'm just saying, I just don't like getting this at the last minute like this,
Well,
and being surprised like that.
I would have hoped it would have been on the agenda since that was what our motion that we voted on was, so.
But anyway, third item we're bringing up here is this lien forgiveness, a request for a lien reduction for property located at 1050 Grove Avenue. Chief, you've already expounded on that. You've talked to your folks, and I don't know if somebody wants to make a motion. There's no need in going over it
Motion to
again.
approve staff recommendation on 1050 Grove Avenue.
We got a motion by Deputy Mayor Warner, a second by Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to our city business. Approval of resolution amending the FY 2019 budget to fund a recording secretary position in the city clerk's office through the use of general funds and contingency, or general fund contingency.
Yes, sir. Currently, the meetings are attended by our assistant city clerk, and we're proposing to add to our head count to a part-time recording secretary to work all of the board meetings at night. So,
Well, I would also add that the community services
oh, right, and
technician
community services technician.
is covering meetings, and what it's doing is when they cover those meetings and the weeks that they're at the meetings, some of them go longer than others, and they then flex their time out at the end of the week, which affects our customer service, level of service, at the counter for processing permits and or dealing with customers. So that's why it's they're splitting their responsibilities, and it's taking away from what their primary responsibility is, being community services, customer service technician.
I was hoping to see a couple of planners on here.
That's next to you, that's a future item, sir,
But anyway,
and on this agenda.
Deputy Mayor Warner.
Just a question, John. Didn't we have a recording secretary position many, many years ago that was a part-time position that might have gone away when the economy fell? But I mean, it seems like this was a position at one time.
It was.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Councilman Goins, or?
Oh,
okay. Okay. What's the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion by Deputy Mayor Warner, second by Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And item number 2 is approval of resolution amending the fire inspection fee schedule, and approval of the new schedule for fire inspection fees, Exhibit A. Fire Chief.
Yep, actually, this is first item.
Oh,
Just
I'm sorry.
just to read the ordinance title. In an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, amending several provisions of the city code regarding fire prevention activities and matters affecting the responsibilities of the fire department, including alarm systems, open fires, numbering of buildings, fire lanes, and other matters pertaining to fire prevention, providing for the repeal of prior and consistent ordinances and resolutions, incorporation into the code, severability, and an effective date. This is first reading of this ordinance.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion by Councilman Bover,
Second.
second by Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You skipped 2. There was 2 items.
There was 2 of them?
Yeah. Resolution was first. Yeah. For the
Yeah,
schedule
and then,
fees, and then the ordinance was read. Yeah, it's 2 different items.
Yeah, I know, we're doing number 2 right now.
That was number 3.
That was number 3 we just approved.
Oh, is that what you just read?
Actually, you know something?
Yeah, I think the city attorney read the wrong one.
Yeah, sorry, I must have,
Okay, so we approved 3, now we gotta go.
Yeah.
yeah, now go back. Put the car in reverse and go back and address the resolution.
Put the buggy in reverse.
Yeah, I was trying to follow it electronically, and I hit the wrong, I hit the wrong button.
Go ahead, sir. If you
Hey,
want.
okay, now that the car's in reverse, and we're back to item number 2, which is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Florida, related to fire protection and prevention, adopting a modified schedule of fire inspection fees in accordance with Section 6-208 of the City Code, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent resolutions and providing an effective date. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now I make a motion for number 2.
We got a motion by Councilman Bover,
Second.
second by Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Did we complete the vote on item number 3?
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm just, okay, we're going to move on to a multi-year contract.
Choose yet, Kelly?
I'm good.
Approve participation in the corporate purchase agreement with Insituform Technologies LLC for cures in place, pipe rehabilitation services, and so forth. So, Utilities Director.
Yes, sir, thank you. This item is to approve continuing services, or I'm sorry, not continuing, but it's really a contract replication by using the City of Daytona Beach contract 0118-2600. And that contract is effective through February 6th of 2020. Annually, we dedicate about $400,000 a year to slip lining, and that's the way in which we enter from the manholes without disturbing the street and lining the inside of the gravity sewer system to help keep out water. And it's a continuing program. This is our 4th or 5th year of officially doing it. We've been doing it on and off for about 9 years. And so I'm here to answer any of your questions if you have anything on the contract or on what we're doing with the program. And by the way, this one actually is using contingency funds from the utilities. Reason being is we had originally thought it was classified as a capital improvement, so we had dedicated the bond that we had just recently gotten to it, but after further discussions with finance, we felt that it was more of a repair maintenance item from now and in the future. And since it's $400,000 that we didn't have, we were using the utilities contingency account to cover this revenue expense.
Now, is this like lining the pipes you said on the inside? Did I miss something?
Yes, sir. Lining
Now,
from the inside.
Now, do we send cameras through there?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep, we send them in before, then we clean it, then we line it, and then we camera it again to make sure that it was done properly.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
And we keep all of that in digital, so we have it in a digital file.
Thank you, sir.
And again, we extend the life of those pipes by,
Oh, yeah, 50, 70 years at least. It's been around for about 40 or 50 years now, so
Yeah.
maybe even longer in Europe, because I think maybe that's where it was developed. But it's a good technology, and it also minimizes the impact to our customers and citizens who use our streets.
Okay. Get a motion?
A motion to approve.
Get a motion by Councilwoman Koss. A second by Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Approval of multi-year continuing service agreement for professional services with Stantec Consultant Services. Finance Director.
Thank you, Mayor. This agenda item requests approval for a multi-year contract with Stantec Consulting Services. Previously, the city has utilized Stantec for multiple studies. Some of them are the general fund financial sustainability analysis, water and revenue sufficiency analysis, the fire assessment roll update, which is on an annual basis, indirect cost allocation analysis with the water and sewer fund. And then, so each one of those things is required an individual agenda item for staff to come back and request approval to utilize Stantec. So staff has worked with the city attorney and with Stantec to get a term contract in place for 5 years with the option for some renewals so that staff can go directly to Stantec and basically issue a task order for each one of these studies. Also built into that is some somewhat contingency money in case we need to use them for other consulting services, such as when we were doing the bond issue last year, we had to utilize them to update some information for us. So staff is requesting approval of this item.
Thank you, ma'am. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion by Deputy Mayor Warner. Second by Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Move on to item number 6. Approve a multi-year professional service agreement between the City of Cocoa and SNME, Inc. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as you indicate. Apologize. Yes, Mr. Mayor, as you indicated, this is a multi-year. There's two things here. Multi-year professional service agreement between the city and SNME. Yeah, to provide professional planning services on a task order basis, as well as approve a budget amendment to transfer funds from contingency to community services, professional services, and community services, contract services for the professional planning services and contract building services. Just with background, as you know, we've endured some staffing shortages and turnover. It's a full employment, or tight employment market. On the building and permitting side, we've been advertising a plans examiner since July of 2018. We have reclassified the position, or reposting it at a higher rate in order to try to attract, to fill that position. Related to planning and zoning, as you know, we have experienced a backlog due to turnover, and we basically have a one-person shop, or, well, a 1.25 person shop with Nancy kind of starting to learn planning probably more than she had initially signed on for. And so what this will do, while we have, this will help augment the services that may be needed in terms of to try to address issues while we're recruiting staff, of which I will share. And we have actually signed a letter, and the applicant a candidate has accepted for our senior planner position. They will start in mid-April. So that's good news. So we are also unfreezing. We are freezing the economic development manager position and unfreezing a planner position to hire a more functionally specialized planner in comprehensive planning, sustainability, resiliency, to help shore up the planning division. We've also taken one of our employees that has been performing the role, but more so codified it into retitling and development services coordinator to assist both building and permitting and planning and zoning, again, to get back to trying to provide that level of service. I can tell you our contractor community was very patient and understanding. most of the times as we went through the experience with the, replacing our building official. And the development community has been patient to and understanding to extent, recognizing the staffing issues. We're not the only community that's facing it. But what the contract does, besides the staffing that I mentioned, the contract enables us, so if there's any special planning services that are required in the interim, such as, this firm's already working on the comprehensive plan amendment related to peril of flood and other year-based or evaluation appraisal report-based amendments that are required by statute, and they'll work in concert with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council on that item. And then this allows any additional items that may come forward while we're trying to get, fully staffed to provide some relief to our planning and zoning manager, Nancy, and to be honest, even I myself have been answering phone calls and working with some of the developers as well. So we're trying a team approach, but this contract, by having them available on a task order basis, and we're asking for $25,000 related to that. And then there is also an additional $40,000 related to our private building and plans, examinations, and inspection services. That's an issue that, I've spoken with the League of Cities on, and, when I get an email saying over 200 building departments in Florida are looking for personnel, and we go on the Building Association website for officials, and there's 200+ advertised positions, and you've got, it's a good economy, and those that are kind of near the end of their, getting closer to retirement or eligible to retire, they go out and make more money, without the benefits that you would get, versus a less tenured employee. So it's something we have spoken with the league about, not just us, I know others. Actually had the conversation with Matt and I did, the representative Soroy staff, and even with Senator Wright. And we are looking for some alternatives to that, because I think it's a critical economic development issue, not just here, but in the state. And so the league's it just was too late to get on the legislative agenda for this current, session. So the requested action is to approve a multi-year professional service agreement between the City of Cocoa and S&ME Incorporated to provide professional planning services on a task order basis, as well as approve a budget amendment to transfer funds from the general fund contingency to community services, professional services, and community services, contract services for professional planning services and contract building services. Available for any questions you may have.
No. That was enough.
You asked about planners. I knew.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve.
We got a motion.
We're trying to wear you down.
We got a motion from
Second.
Councilman Bovair and a second by Councilwoman Cos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it passes unanimously. Thank you, John.
Did you need me to restate that?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. Number 7, approve a multi-year agreement and lease with the Florida Historical Society to lease the real property located at 2201 Michigan Avenue, which is our Brevard Museum. Assistant City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This item is to approve a multi-year agreement and lease with the Florida Historical Society to lease the real property located at 2201 Michigan Avenue, Cocoa, Florida, owned by the city, and approve a previously executed lease termination with Brevard County. Approve a resolution amending the FY 2019 budget through the use of general fund balance reserves for the one-time expense related to the execution of the lease agreement. As you all well know, the Brevard Museum is located on Michigan Avenue west of Clear Lake in the city of Cocoa. It was constructed sometime in the mid-'70s to provide natural history and artifacts on site. In the course of that time, the Brevard Museum, Inc., in about the year 2014, was having some financial issues. They approached the Florida Historical Society to see if they had an interest in taking over that operation and maintenance of the museum. Both the city and county agreed to that. There was a unique relationship because the city, while we owned the property, we subleased that property to the county, who then subleased it to the Brevard Museum, Inc. When Brevard Museum, Inc. pulled out, the Florida Historical Society came in, and there was still the sublease. And so with the desire to come back and make that correction, this is that correction to remove the county out of the middle. At the same time, in the development, actually at the first public budget hearing for the fiscal year 2018 budget, the Florida Historical Society approached City Council with a request as they had a need for roof replacement. And at that time, City Council directed staff to work with the staff from the Florida Historical Society to develop an agreement that could be brought back. That agreement is incorporated within this. And what you'll find is they have a quote for the roof replacement at about $76,000. The city has agreed to, within this agreement, to provide $50,000 contribution for the replacement of that roof, and in turn would receive 3 years of in-kind support from the Florida Historical Society for the operation of the Leon and Jewel Collins Museum of African American History. And so those items are all contained within this agreement. It has a term of 70 years. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I don't have to go first.
Councilwoman Kosh.
I was just going to say that I think we're all proud that the Florida Historical Society chooses to live in Cocoa. And I'm particularly proud that this museum is in District 4. It has also community space that it lends out to those communities, which really, they have Travis Park and they have that. I was going to make a motion that that we support the $50,000 for the roof, that we also, for the replacement rather, that I would like to also include a note or memo or invitation to them to consider a metal roof that they could attach solar to, and to let them know that the City of Cocoa now has a sustainability advisory committee, that we're developing a resiliency and sustainability plan, and that renewable energy is a part of our future going forward. So it's just a consideration, but I think it would be in their own interest, and I think there is actually a co-op forming, and they may actually find that that is in their economic interest as well.
Thank you, ma'am. What's the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve. I agree the metal roof is definitely a big plus. Not only does it not have to be replaced as frequently, it does give them a lot of options when it comes to installing solar and doing some other things. So Lorraine made the motion, I made the second.
Okay.
We got a motion by Councilwoman Cost.
And just the only discussion is, of course, we don't own the building, but this is, we do want them to understand our intention and goals.
No, we own the building, we're leasing it to them.
Yeah.
I thought we owned the property.
We own the property, and I believe how the original agreement was written is that what is constructed on that property, just like in our other parks, is ultimately the city's.
Exactly.
And so, yes.
Yeah, it is the city's.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilwoman Cost, a second by Deputy Mayor Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And we got, last item is item number 8, which is approve a multi-year license agreement for construction and maintenance of living shorelines with the East Coast Zoological Society of Florida, Inc. Who brought this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll bring this one. This is to approve a multi-year lease agreement for construction and maintenance of a living shoreline with the East Coast Zoological Society of Florida, Inc. Just a little background on this one. The city has been working with members of the Brevard Zoo since around the time of January 2018 in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma. At the same time, we were going through the waterfront master plan update. And I believe in review, this actually came from citizen Lorraine Koss. I think she originally reached out to the city regarding members of the zoo and their role with the living shorelines. We did meet with them on multiple occasions and developed a project that coincides with the shoreline stabilization. And so what they would do is install a living shoreline along that newly completed coquina rock layer, all the way from essentially the old State Road 520 bridge fishing pier all the way back down to the T where the boat ramps are. And the Brevard Zoo actually provides for the engineering, permitting, installation, and then future maintenance of that living shoreline. It was seen as, you know, with the city doing it, it could potentially be an example for our other citizens who live along the intercoastal waterway. There will be, you know, one of the primary concerns was the impact to the boating community, because with the installation of the new T-dock and day slips, will this interfere with the depth of the water and their ability to get in and out? And it in fact won't. They did provide a small agreement here that they provide to, if it's a citizen of Brevard County, to sign, that essentially authorizes them to apply for the permitting and undertake this project on their property. We did draft an agreement, not attached to this item, but it is complete, that puts some more formal rules in that arrangement to protect the city as well as the zoo. And so what we're asking for is the execution of that multi-year lease agreement.
Okay, thank you, sir. What's the wishes of the council? Or
Motion to approve?
we got a motion by Councilwoman Koss, a second by Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Your light's still on. Okay, we're going to go on to reports, and you have information agenda in there, so we're going to go on to reports. Any advisory boards or committees? Any reports? Okay, city administration, Mr. Weegraff.
Yes, Mayor and Council, just one short report. The paving, if no one's noticed, made a little leap ahead today with milling on Brevard. They'll be doing sections, ramps, milling, paving, to move up, ramps, milling, paving, small section at a time, so we'll be notifying the businesses and working around different activities downtown. So it's moving north. We did the easy part first, now we're getting into the tougher part. So
okay, thank you, sir.
We'll be giving everyone a heads up, you know, like a 2-week look ahead as we move.
Thank you, sir. Is that it?
That's it.
Ms. Bowen, Finance Director.
Yes, I would like to inform City Council that in the Customer Service Department, we've been making some changes with the phone system. The phone was set up to answer 30 lines and have 30 lines open at one given time during the course of the day. And staff has been unable to answer the volume of phone calls often that comes in. And so that results in people waiting 45 minutes to an hour on the phone to get their questions resolved. So we've reduced the number of lines that are coming in order to be able to answer the calls that are coming in and not have the people waiting so long on the phone. We've investigated what the phone system will allow. My hope was that we could put a message on there that says something like, we're experiencing a high volume of calls right now, please call back at a later time. And the phone system doesn't allow that, so once we hit the maximum of the 20 lines, the person will get a busy signal when they try to call in. Based on the current staffing levels, they're unable to answer those calls, and right now we have one person that's out due to health issues, and then we have 2 brand-new people, so that also results in a decreased level of customer service temporarily. So I just wanted to inform City Council, and then we'll be having a workshop coming up on the utility handbook to discuss this further.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
So, well,
Councilwoman?
yeah, I just want this, so these are water customers, so not as many phone calls are going to be taken, but I mean, so you've got 2 new people, and we're going to be able to, it seems like if you're a water customer, you should be able to get your question answered in a reasonable amount of time. Are we going to propose more staff?
Yes, we will be proposing increased staff with the budget. However, that also needs to be taken into consideration because that staff is part of, would not be part of the utility overhead allocation at that point in time. So there's multiple things that are going to have to be considered, and that will be brought back to council during the budget.
So it's not overhead to the enterprise, but it serves the enterprise?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That
I think,
function
you know, I just remember hearing from so many people that they're paying $100 a month, and to think that they couldn't get their questions answered.
Well, the reduction in the number of lines is so that they're not waiting on hold and they're getting frustrated because they've been waiting 45 minutes to an hour. Once one line clears up, then it'll stay full at 20 lines. But when you open up 30 lines at one time, that's causing the people to have to wait for long periods of time.
Okay.
So the objective is to be able to service them without them having to wait.
Okay.
Hopefully, when they call back, the line's open, and then we'll be able to service them more quickly.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Is that it?
You're welcome. That's it.
Okay, Chief?
No report, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would just like to take a moment to recognize Chief Lamb. He recently graduated from the Emergency Service Leadership Institute. That's a series of 6 classes that involve finance, emergency management, leadership, management and budgeting, government relations, and it's a very sought-after class and courses. Usually fills up, and you have to wait a year or 2 to get in, but he was able to get in and originally graduated, so I just wanted to congratulate him.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
No report, Mayor.
No report. Okay. Mr.
No
Lawson?
report, sir.
Okay.
Hi, I just want to announce that the City of Cocoa, we announced our 4th annual Cocoa Works Summer Youth Program, the internship program that we partner with Cocoa High School to put on. The city's budgeted for 12 positions this year. We partner with CareerSource to put this program on. CareerSource has let us know that they have available a few grant opportunities to pay for the salary portion for additional positions. To enhance the program this year, we've sent a few letters out to some local businesses of Cocoa. I just wanted to make the announcement, if you are a local business in the city of Cocoa and you have the opportunity to host an intern, we wanted to hear from you on that. If the estimated cost is about $1,800 for the salary piece of it, plus that includes a payment to CareerSource to host the training program that we partner with on, and the contract we have with them for the mentorship component.
Okay.
The grant that we do have available would cover the salary piece of it, but not the $500. So there possibly could be an opportunity for the business to get the majority of that $1,800 covered by the grant.
Oh.
So they can contact myself for that if they're interested. So
Thank you, ma'am.
the application's on our website. The applications are due by May 4th, and then we quickly go into the evaluation of those applications, and it's a tough choice usually to select who gets in. So
He says it's on the website now.
it's on our city's website right now. Yeah.
Nonprofits apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Shealy?
No report.
Mr. City Attorney?
No report.
Mr. Assistant City Manager?
No report.
What? Really? Oh, God, city manager. Is that your report right there?
It's quick. Just want to advise City Council, I know I copied you, just the All Aboard Florida Brightline Virgin Trains project. The Florida Development Finance Corporation held a hearing on March 6. I understand they didn't complete the hearing because there was, I think because of the allotted time, and there's going to be some scheduled public hearings, which will include Brevard County, but I wanted to point out one of the things that in the course of, and it's contained in our letter, because we did receive, some information from Brightline in advance, but one of the things that they did mention is that based on the TPO study, they identified potential station stops, of which 2 of them are located, the 2 potential stops, sites in Cocoa for their planned expansion. So that's good news that we're still there on the radar for a future either like Tier 2 stop or Tier 2 or otherwise. Wanted to inform you that the EDA, Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, has approved a grant application for $45,000 to, I know we're going through resiliency planning with East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and we actually are inviting the business community out on March 26 for a workshop. It was a really good workshop that we had with others that attended the first time, but this would be helping develop mini business disaster preparedness and recovery plans for participating small and medium-sized businesses. So while we're focused on the city, trying to focus on our businesses that might be affected by a natural or man-made disaster. Last thing I will share with you, or 2 things. One, I had a very productive meeting, county attorney, county manager's office, city attorney, and city manager's office today regarding the CRA interlocal agreements. So we look forward to getting a draft, and then we'll be bringing those back and getting guidance from you all. And then the last thing, and you may have received it, and I'll take time before I leave this evening, is on Thursday, March 14th, it's tomorrow morning, the House State Affairs Committee is going to consider House Bill 3. That's that preemption of local government bill. While there was a strike all or amendment was filed, which basically gutted a number and narrowed the scope of the bill and removed some of the impacts, there still are, the amendment still does preempt the regulation and licensing of professions and occupations to the state. And I'm just going to, this was 2 years ago. And these are the type of businesses that we could arguably be preempted, and these are in our existing code right now. Pawn shops, sexually oriented businesses or adult entertainment, solicitation, canvas, peddling, vehicles for hire, flea markets, garage sales, after-hours clubs, and alcoholic. We have noise limitations and hours. Dance halls, rave clubs, valet parking, vendors on public property in the right-of-way. So it has some far-reaching impact. We got this afternoon, but it could affect our property maintenance standards, our residential rental standards, the sidewalk cafes, the regulation of those donation bins that people used to just drop out. And I know, and the only reason I share this one is because this is, I think, a perfect example of the state why they should let we live local. You all know, you all get to meet with your constituents on a daily basis, and you know what the issues are. And back in 2003, 2004, the city attorney and council discussed the issue of slot machines and devices, and we regulated those. And they were proliferating throughout the county, but not in the city of Cocoa. Fast forward 9 years, and then the state finally stepped in. So it's just an example of, the ability for local government to respond to the local needs and the standards determined by the community. We've seen some emails related to short-term rentals. I've been out to the gentlelady and the gentleman's property, with the infamous bus and the people on the roof, and so those emails, when those bills come up, we'll be forwarding. And so they're looking to preempt local government. I mean, the 2 committee stops in the CRA bill passed, so I think we'll be working with the Senate version. So I just wanted to update you on those, and then also remind you that we did meet with, appreciate the mayor attending, and the county commission and Commissioner Lober on the resolution last night, and I thought we had a pretty productive meeting with the county today on our CRA ILAs. So
Yeah, they were Commissioner Pritchard and Ms. Nardi and on Lober. They were very understanding last night, and I was grateful that they're pulling us out of that deal, so giving us the opportunity and trusting us. So that worked out really good. So appreciate it. Appreciate the letter.
Thank you, sir.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I just wanted to say, for those of you who have not had an opportunity to take the Florida League of Cities EMU classes that they offer, it's a really good idea. I just completed the EMO 3, which, as opposed to getting into the function of local government, it gets into your personal function as a council person and how you react to things and how you react to different types of people. So it's more about your responses to staff and to the public as opposed to how the general thing works. And it's very different from what I've attended in the past, but it's also extremely helpful. I was definitely able to understand why I have some of my responses, and it's basically about communication and how different people communicate. So it was actually very good. It gave me some understanding of how I've reacted to some of our citizens who may be a little more aggressive than others. So it was great. So if you get the chance to take those classes, please do. They're definitely worth your time and effort. Also, I've been having some problems in my neighborhood, which is one of the older neighborhoods in the city, with oak trees. We have a lot of citizens who move into the city of Cocoa who are not aware of how we feel about oak trees around here, and our oak trees are disappearing. I've actually had a couple of trees disappear in my neighborhood that were in the city right away, and not supposed to be removed by the property owner. Is it possible we can put something in the newsletter about our tree ordinance and our rules on oak trees? Because obviously we have a lot of people who are not aware of the fact that they are not just supposed to cut down 80-year-old oak trees for no reason, except that they don't like them.
Including the water bill.
Or, yeah, I don't know about the water bill and how we're doing that these days, but if nothing else, in the newsletter and on the city's website, because there's been one property down the street for me that you could barely see the house for the beautiful old oak trees, and there's not one oak tree left standing on the property. Of course, the people have spent the last 10 years in the desert, so that may explain why they wanted all the oak trees gone, but why buy a house surrounded by oak trees just to chop them down? You know, wasn't the only house in the city available. But anyway, also, I would like to send condolences to our former Fire Chief Salisbury on the passing of his wife today. Mrs. Salisbury's mom and dad lived next door to me for 20 years, so I was very close to the family. And anybody who knows Chief Salisbury, please reach out to him. I'm sure he's absolutely heartbroken, probably one of the longest marriages around between those two. I'd just like to say thank you to both of our public safety departments for terrific award ceremonies for their members. And it was really nice to be invited and to get to see our employees with their families and spouses and children. That's always fun. And the chief didn't bother to mention it, but on April 4th, we have the Chief's Breakfast, which is a fundraiser for Cocoa Community First. I have tickets. The chief has tickets. Tickets are available at the police station. Tickets to the breakfast are $25. Or you can sponsor a table, or you can buy raffle tickets. They're $10 each, 12 for $100. And we've got some absolutely terrific raffle items. You can take a look and get all the details on the police department's Facebook page or the website too. I think Yvonne probably got it up today. Also on the 6th, which is 2 days later, is Trash Bash, I believe, which we always participate in, but it's also the backyard barbecue done by the Sharing Center in support of the Sharing Center and all the wonderful programs that they provide to the city of Cocoa. And I have it on really good authority that one of the competitors this year will be Chief Cantaloupe. So when we get done picking up trash, we need to go out and support the chief and try and get him to win the barbecue competition. And I think that is it for me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have no report. Everything's been said. I repeat her sentiment and John's and everybody else, so no need of me repeating everything. Just thank you, everyone, for the great work you do for the city of Cocoa, and thank you to you people out there for coming in here and supporting us.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Kosh.
Yeah, well, I think I have some new things to say. But I would like to, I do want to jump off of Brenda's point about the trees, because I saw those go down as well. I've also received call from constituent in College Green Estates, and of course, they have a beautiful canopy of trees in that neighborhood, but some of them, unfortunately, were trees that were planted in the wrong place and have created issues with the sidewalks and with piping. So, I mean, that's something John and I have talked about and we're going to be looking at and looking at a plan. But I really feel what's at the core of this, even with the constituent that called me, is I don't think he was really understanding the value of the trees. Because I have a neighbor that chopped down a tree just because it was a perfectly healthy tree because he thought that it might come down in a storm. And he didn't realize that, in fact, that mature oak tree captures 4,000 gallons of stormwater every year, and could very well be the difference between him, having water come in his home or end up pooled in his yard versus not. So trees have this benefit to our entire community as well as individual homeowners, and it's a matter of the right tree in the right place. So, and moving on, I wanted to thank Jack for an incredible presentation the other night. We were here until 9 o'clock, the Sustainability Advisory Committee, talking about our water enterprise and how sustainability is really just an integral part of it. So I think we have a lot to be proud of there. And that was certainly, is certainly a foundation, a strength for Cocoa in terms of sustainability. Also met with and have invited Catherine Alexander, who is a former board member on the Brevard Culture Alliance, to give a little presentation on public art, and that'll be at the end of February, at the end of April, rather. She has some ideas about how to incorporate art into our bus stop shelters. We have some opportunities there. I also met with, when FDOT had their meeting on the 528 expansion, and they're looking at creating bike paths. There's still some real questions there. I don't think they have a solid plan in terms of how you enter that bike path or how it connects with the other bike paths. So our neighbors in High Point are really interested in that, and we'll stay on that. I appreciate the Meals on Wheels kickoff and the fact that we have so many nonprofits in Cocoa. I think that's a real strength for our community. I also wanted to mention that I attended the League of Women Voters. They had a St. John's virtual tour, as I'm trying to learn more about the St. John's and see how that interacts with the lagoon, after having studied the lagoon for a couple of years, and really became aware of how the application of biosolids is on their radar screen and on a lot of folks' radar screen in Florida, particularly where it's placed on recharge areas. So I think that's something that we want to be sensitive to, because public perception, no matter how fine an engineering solution is, unless you've got public buy-in and an educated public, perception can really take things in the wrong direction. I attended the Children's Home Society of Florida event today, where they're going to be sending 80 Endeavor students to STEAM camps this summer. Again, I feel like education is really the cornerstone to us doing any sort of revitalization in Cocoa. It's really important that we elevate our students, that we really elevate the reputations of our schools, and that's why I'm just determined that those 50 kids that have been invited to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City, that they get the opportunity to do that next October, and that's going to take the whole community. So I hope everybody here and the 6 people that are listening will think about ways we can raise those dollars. And that is the conclusion of my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Goins.
I wanted to get maybe a consensus from the council on a possible ordinance situation dealing with panhandling, and also mobile business ordinance as well. There was some issues this weekend with organization raising money for children, and based on our panhandling ordinance, is basically not allowed in the city. So I was looking at possibly if council chooses to maybe at a later date, after you look at the ordinance itself, you look at a possible permitting for nonprofit organizations to do those particular bucket drops, because some children just don't have parents that have the funds to go on trips or buy suits or whatever the case may be they may need. I do understand the panhandling ordinance is definitely for those people that we see on 520 on an everyday basis in front of Wawa. But in some situations, it may be beneficial for the community. So some people came to me with it, so that's what I'm doing now to get a consensus on that panhandling, and also mobile business getting permission, a license, kind of like the mobile food trucks that we have doing our events in downtown. A possible change in that as well. So how do y'all feel about those 2 ordinances possibly being looked at?
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, we can look at them.
I mean,
yes.
it seems unreasonable that kids couldn't be soliciting for those needs.
I thought it wasn't that they couldn't solicit, it was just where. It's the street corner, which
it says
because it's dangerous.
Yeah, in the right of way.
It's in the right of way, yeah.
Well, it wasn't on a corner, number one. The business itself was on a corner, but the kids weren't on the corner. And number 2, there was probably about 2 feet of grass. You had a sidewalk was probably about 3 foot wide, I guess, around 3 feet wide. And then you had another patch of grass, and then you have the actual parking area, or not parking area, but the entryway to the business. And the kids were on the grass, from my understanding, and I mean, it was a fundraiser, and it's on 5th and Peachtree Street, and it wasn't on the corner. And
I think the ordinance just addresses the traffic issues and stuff that come from panhandling on the streets. I think we usually encourage them to do it in shopping centers, or, to do those fundraising things like, at Publix or Harvey's, or in front of the stores and out, off of the roadways. And it's not even so much as like standing on 520 like the one guy does every afternoon on his crutches. It's very easy for him to get killed. And I know we used to do, the firefighters used to do the bucket drops out there, but I think it had to do with the traffic issues. The backing up traffic was why we instituted that, I seem to remember. But also, was to encourage people to do it on private property as opposed to being out on the streets doing it. But yeah, doing the fundraising, I mean, we've always allowed the fundraising. The fundraising, I don't think, is the same thing as panhandling. I
Right.
think there's a big difference there.
It's a difference, right.
And if we don't have an ordinance that covers the ability to fundraise, I know we allow like the Girl Scouts to set up and sell cookies and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
To me, this is no different where the kids are standing out there asking for a donation or asking, and the cheerleaders do it all
Right,
the time too,
right.
but they're usually at Publix when they're doing it. And so yeah, I have no issue with looking at that ordinance and
Okay.
the
I was-
food
no-
truck ordinance. I thought because we allow them for the special events, so, but they just have to be like licensed and inspected by the state or something, follow the rules or
No,
something.
we don't allow it. Am I right, Mr. Garganese? Am I-
I mean, aren't they allowed to do food trucks for special events?
Special events, but
I believe
Not-
so. I think.
For special events, but not
For special events.
No, he
not
means
for
just-
non-special. I mean, in
he's-
general.
I mean, in general, I think is what he's talking about.
Food trucks.
Well, we have a couple, but they're like on county property. I
It's on
think.
county. They have to leave and go to the county.
Yeah.
I mean, mobile vendors, I mean, some cities have detailed ordinances regarding mobile vendors. I don't believe we do. That's something that we could certainly take a look at.
Well, it's not just food trucks, it would be like mobile detailing, mobile car repair, wouldn't all of that fall under that?
Yeah.
Well, I heard mobile, I wasn't sure if you were just talking about mobile vendors or,
Well, to me, a guy who comes to your house and details your car is a mobile vendor.
Right.
okay, not just food trucks.
Right.
I mean, I would think we
Mobile
would
as in
want to
general.
cover it all. if
Mobile
we're
in
doing an
general.
ordinance.
Right.
Mobile, okay.
Because right now we have
Mobile
zero.
business.
We don't have anything that kind of addresses it.
And we do have several mobile detailers in
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we certainly can take a look at that issue, because I don't think there's anything expressly stated in COCO's municipal code.
Okay.
On panhandling, the city does have a panhandling ordinance. That is a complicated regulation because of the First Amendment rights and recent federal case law pertaining to panhandling, because the act of soliciting donations is protected speech. So there's a lot of issues that we have to take a look at regarding panhandling in general. The city also, council adopted recently, maybe about a couple of years ago, with respect to roadways, where individuals just cannot exchange objects in the roadways, and that's a very general provision, and it means any objects. And
so that means money.
Could mean it doesn't specifically
anything.
address donations or money. It's just objects. It's the act of trying to give or take objects, pedestrians taking that in the middle of the rights of way.
Gotcha.
Which posed a significant concern to the police department, and an ordinance was crafted that doesn't specifically address panhandling, but this exchange of objects being prohibited in certain traffic areas. So that's a general regulation, and I don't know the specific situation you all are talking about would fall under that particular provision of the code.
Yeah,
It's a safety, pedestrian safety. We had, when you go and you look at the record that the chief's department compiled when the previous council considered that ordinance, you would be amazed at the number of pedestrians being struck in the rights of way, and you actually had one fatality recently, in the last couple of years, where you had somebody soliciting, I believe, donations, if that's what the police report said, got struck by a vehicle and unfortunately was killed. So, it's a pedestrian safety regulation too. The carving, I can tell you, just there's a statute, Florida statute that talks about panhandling, and it actually carved out an exception to nonprofit organizations that statute was declared unconstitutional because it carved out an exception just for nonprofits, and which would kind of go in line with, well, who's, if you're a nonprofit and you need to solicit donation for your nonprofit organization, you're okay, but the average person's not. That type of regulation would fail on constitutional grounds based on the legal precedent that's out there.
And I think what we saw here this weekend, it's more of a, because I know what we have in place, I know why it's there, and it does what we need for it to do. But sometimes we just gotta look at the circumstances, and it's more of a common sense type deal, what's going on, and that's the way we need to look at things sometimes. And you never know what's going on in a person's life, what they've gone through, what's happened the day before, and we don't know that. But some things that we have in place, they're there for a reason, but we also got to use some common sense when it comes to stuff as well. And I think this is one of those issues where, there was exchange going back and forth there for a little bit, and then it just became an issue where there was kids involved, and there should have just been a little bit of common sense there using, and
Okay.
So. Sorry about that, sir.
No, you're all right. This is for Assistant City Manager dealing with the FPL light bulbs. Where are we with that?
I guess what are you looking for?
Changing the lights to LED.
Yes, sir.
Possibly.
The FPL currently has a program where they are converting their entire service area, at least the street lights, to an LED version of their lighting. And the city is working with FP&L. I think the last timeline we had received from them was a couple of years out. And that's for the total city. Now, the city has undertaken some efforts on Peachtree Street, Fisk, and then Stone Street has been ongoing here for some time to go ahead and upgrade those as we redo the roadways.
Gotcha.
And so they are looking at piloting an area, I believe, in Melbourne. But as far as the city's program, it is, I think the last time we met with them on the annual program, it was about 2 years out.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I bring that up, because it's a lot of citizens that call me, definitely in the Virginia Park area, several other areas. It was really, really dark on some of those streets at night. A lot of it have to do with the landscape where the trees are is because they're not being topped. The light can't come through, so it's really, really dark on a lot of streets. So that's an issue. And also, with Endeavor Elementary School, I think we already had that issue this week. It's very dark for those kids going to school, definitely now with daylight saving time. So
There were no lights at all on Pineda. I went out there the other morning. There's not a single light working on Pineda.
Yeah.
Those kids are walking in the absolute dark to school.
And we're working with them to address that one more immediate, because that can't wait till the overall city. I guess one advantage of the LEDs is you can adjust the temperature of the light as well as the brightness. So we can look at some of those things as we move forward with that project.
The higher the luminous, the brighter it is, and the lower than the...
Yeah, I don't think they turned the lights back on after they put those new poles up on Pineda. They put the concrete poles up, and the lights are there, but they're not working and haven't been working.
No, they're not functioning.
And now that school is starting in the dark, even our school resource officer has brought it up. It's dark out there.
Completely. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I really had. I appreciate everybody for coming out. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And that's one thing I was going to talk about, Endeavor, the light situation. I had I called school board member McDougal that morning, and I thank her and her staff because they got right on it, because there was actually a panel issue with the school itself, which is being replaced this summer, and but someone forgot to actually communicate, turning the lights on that morning. It was pretty embarrassing. I mean, I couldn't see anything there. It was unbelievable. Then there were kids coming from the back from Clear Lake through a field, and it's probably about 200 yards walk, and there's nothing, no lighting, period, back there. There should be some portable banks back there, so I'll be working with the county because Commissioner Lober said anything they can do to help, but they got to have some lighting back there for those kids. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's pitch black back there.
Can you ask them to work on that homeless camp back there, too?
Oh, I didn't even know about the homeless camp.
Right behind the gas station.
And then that's the sad part. You got these kids walking through there, and it's unbelievable. I was grateful to see some of the parents that were actually walking with some of the kids, but yeah, something need to be done about that. And but I know they're working on that. And also at Endeavor, congratulations to it's a co-ed basketball team they had. They're from 3rd to 6th graders. They won the championship this year. They beat Cambridge for the basketball championship, and there's several, I guess they're the Central Brevard Elementary School basketball group, but they won that competition. And I thank the coaches and all the kids that were involved with reference to that. Also, Provost Park, yesterday there was a rugby game on Provost West, Provost East, and then there was Northeast, and then there was a soccer deal going on the southeast side as well. And the sad part about it is the restrooms were locked, and this was going on during the day. And so you have to imagine where the kids were using the restrooms at. And you have the bus stop there and so forth and so on. That's just not acceptable to me and anyone else in this community. It's embarrassing. And it's a nightmare. I can't imagine taking my kid out to that park, considering some of the circumstances that are going on at that park right now. We got to do something about this. I was out there this morning, and of course they had a mess to clean up this morning, but it wasn't as bad. They actually took their garbage with them this time, but there was still some trash out there. And, I mean, this is, I don't know who's controlling, well, I guess the county's controlling the restrooms, and even the signage on the restroom, you don't have, whether it men or women's restroom, and you have families out there for some of these tournaments, and when they are open, I mean, a kid can walk in, a young lady can walk in on the gentleman's restroom. There's no marking, there's no identifiers there, so something needs to be done. And I know we've had this discussion.
You mean there's no signs on the?
There's no signs. The doors are down. There's no signs.
There's no front door on them either.
Yeah, the doors are off.
Yeah.
And so they're just wherever they need to use the restroom with all the activity out there, they're using it.
That's county, right?
Yeah,
We pay the county to do that.
Yeah, the county unlocks those. The restrooms are locked during the day. They are to be unlocked during events at which they rent the facilities or they have an agreement to operate. So
I don't know if this was a scheduled event or not, but there was both rugby fields. I mean, well, the rugby field as well as the east side, the east-north field, and the east-west field was all. There's 3 events going on at one time.
Okay, I'll check with them and see if there was an actual rental of those facilities. If not, maybe we need to look at opening those up if there's going to be that kind of activity in the park.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while now, so.
Well, we all know if they were not scheduled activities, somebody from the county would have been out there running them off, so.
Yeah, because there was quite a few of them out there. I mean, it was, they were.
I know Sunday was packed.
Yeah, and they had their games. I mean, like I said, the one field on the west side, that's locked, so the rugby folks have access to that. So they were going on both fields and the soccer deal on the other field. So I'm sure it was a schedule. It had to be a scheduled deal.
Well, yeah, because somebody from the county would have run them off if it wasn't. Try going out there if you don't have a schedule and see what happens to you.
Yeah. And then, so I've been going out there every morning, early in the morning, and then stopping by Endeavor, just taking a look on those 2 situations, and that's coming along pretty good. And then also, Mr. City Manager, Assistant City Manager, Finance Director, at some point in time, we all need to sit down, the council, staff, because I want us to be a little bit more proactive when it comes to our employees with reference to jobs and salaries, because what's happening now is we're losing police officers to the county, sheriff department, our salaries compared to others when it come to, certain salaries. We got guys that are 15 years in, 20 years in, 25 years in, not topped out in pay. It's just unheard of. I mean, that's, I don't agree with that. I believe that if we take care of our employees, they're going to take care of us. They're going to do a great job for the city. I'm a true believer in that. And I think that we need to stop being reactive, when we're losing employees to other departments or other cities and towns. And then now we're having to do all this training deal all over again. We're losing some valuable employees due to salaries. And I think we need to sit down and have some discussion with reference to that, because I think that, looking at some of the salaries, I think we're behind. We're a little bit behind other communities and other departments, and we need to take care of our employees so they can do the job that.
Can we maybe make that part of the budget discussion that we're starting?
Yes, ma'am, we sure can. I just.
We were aware back here, the FHP just lost 44 troopers in Miami.
And and I'm talking all the way around, because we can either be the leaders in this county, or we can be the tail end, but I think we got some super good employees. I think they deserve to be brought up to par, and we need to look in on how we can do that and do it without it creating any problems. But I really believe we take care of our employees, they're going to take care of us, and we don't have to worry. And I'm a true believer of that. It's just my opinion. Just something I think we ought to look into. Also, Chief, the situation this Saturday, code enforcement officer did a great job. He was excellent. The police officer, he actually did his job. I mean, he did what he had to do, and I just think that we need to look at stuff like that a little bit better when we're doing stuff like that, considering some of the issues we're facing in our city, with that little bit of a divide, you know what I'm saying? But, I know he did what he had to do.
Saturday?
It was just an issue with the kids doing a fundraiser, and it just, but it was handled perfect. I mean, they did a great job. They did a great job. I wish the officer could have smiled a little bit more, because, but, they did a great job, both of them. And I know someone threw some stuff out there about me giving them directions. That never happened. The only thing I stated there was I told the gentleman to listen to what the code enforcement officers were saying, and I said, because he listened to him, and he actually calmed down, and he listened to what the code enforcement officers were stating. So, I just get frustrated with some of the rumors that go out there, and some of the garbage that go out there, and some of the lies that are disseminated on Facebook, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, we got a job to do, and I got a job to do as a mayor as well as this council. And if a citizen called me and they have an issue, excuse me, Mr. Bover, if you don't mind, I didn't do that when you were speaking.
Oh, he was.
I think you're being a little rude.
Well, he was being rude to me, Mr. Mayor, because I just.
But okay, well, I'm sorry if I was wrong. Okay, I apologize.
I just took his sticker off. He was being.
I apologize. I apologize. But I just know that we're better than this, and we just need to bridge this gap. And come together as a community. And people are starting to come together as a community. Because there was a lot of great things happening this weekend. 405 Blake with FP&L doing the bill there. We had the Emma Jewel. We had churches out there. I mean, there had to be about 40 people out there voluntarily cutting trees down, trimming, cleaning out old facilities out there. And there was probably 100 kids there that voluntarily go to school on the weekend just to get further education. They could be out playing or doing whatever, but they really go to school and just to get a little bit more. And actually the teachers are volunteering to do that. That's unheard of. And then we had the Real Church. They had about 30 volunteers there. So there was some great things going on in the city. And So we see a lot of great things happen in this city, and I just want to continue. And that's my only goal, is for us to come together as a community and just make a difference with reference to what's happening in our community. And just for the last thing, Officer Hathaway was our Officer of the Year.
Yeah, I forgot to say that.
I just wanted to congratulate him once again. I think it was well-deserving because he does a great job for our police department. We have some great officers on our police department. You know, I mean, you know, you hear some stuff about our officers, but there are some great officers. And a lot of them do a great job and a great service for our community, and I appreciate that. Of course, I didn't make it to the Fires Award ceremony. I kind of fell asleep, and I apologize for that. But and also, Time Out did a great job. Great food, Chief. I can't wait till next year, and hopefully I'm here. So, but with that being said, I'm gonna.
Hey, the wall raising for that house for Habitat Humanity on Blake will be 9 a.m. Saturday. So if any volunteers want to come out and help with the wall raising, it'd be 9 o'clock.
Okay. Ms. Shealy.
I just want to remind you and everyone else that the next council meeting is canceled
Yes.
because everyone will be out of town.
And that we have the budget workshop tomorrow?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, that's not canceled.
But,
No, we have the budget workshop
I'm sorry,
tomorrow
you
at
said that.
5:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just thanking everyone for coming out, and if I can get a motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
We got a motion by Councilman Bover, second by Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. Oh, no, I apologize. I just.